Hey everyone, I'm Isaac Maring. I own and run a lawn maintenance business currently, and I want to bring more lessons to you guys. And I've been in the business industry for 6+ years, and this channel is really all about bringing lessons and business advice. So today's topic is really about how solving problems can be the problem, and really just creating problems into problems. And then I've had this thought, and I've been through a lot of different problems in the world, because as they say, to make more money, you need to solve more problems. If you have something that's broken and you need or want to fix it, you most likely have to solve a problem. And this also means if you want to change where you are, you have to solve a problem to get where you want to go. So this is very important because I think most humanity, if not all, always seeks to solve problems. And it may not be all in the same way. It may be different problems. It may be problems that don't matter. It may be problems that are so big you can't even imagine how somebody else could be solving that, and you're working on a little problem. And there's always different levels to the game of how much you can solve, how many resources you have, how many skills, and how much knowledge you have to be able to solve each problem. But even more importantly today, it's more about which problems should you solve, how do you not create problems that didn't need to be there in the first place, and actually how to see the light at the end of the tunnel, and seeing the other side of things, where every problem you solve, it leads to another problem. Because whenever you take care of something, this world isn't always going to be completely complete, completely clean. There's going to be something else that needs to be fixed. There's going to be something else that gets you to the next level. And that's also what's so amazing about living and growing, and then also being a business owner. So for example, if I'm in lawn maintenance and I have a problem maybe with quality. Maybe there's a little bit of quality problem, so I try to get better, and then say, I was weed whacking the wrong direction, so that all my clippings were not going the right way, or my clippings weren't getting cleaned up. So I have a problem that my customers might have brought to me, that the clippings aren't getting cleaned up, or somehow, some way, maybe the trimmer is hitting certain things that it shouldn't be, right? Or maybe it's cutting too short. And then so these are all customer quality related problems that I should have the most attention to, because that is the service we provide. And once we solve that problem, once I fix that for the customer and say, okay, well, my service is perfect now because I solved that problem, and that's the only problem they brought to me, you may be disappointed and unexpectedly realize that there's going to be another problem that comes up. And this is also the exciting part, and knowing that you're also growing, because once you solve that one problem, it opens up the other ones to be seen, especially when you're looking at one that might just be a cover-up. And these cover-ups can also be very deceiving, especially when it comes to the bigger business world, when you're looking at maybe restructuring or trying to set up your business in a certain way, or it comes to a lot of times it's really down to time efficiency and being effective with solving these problems. Because you could have somebody say that you're doing a bad job at something, and it might be directed towards a different way. It could be directed towards an attitude, or directed towards coming every week to do something and you do it wrong, or do it slightly different, or there might be something that a customer or something has brought up to you that could be a smoke for the actual root problem. And all of these can be grouped into one, where if you solve that one problem, that one main big problem, all the other ones go away. And if I asked you if you could solve one big problem and get rid of 100 of them, you would probably spend all of your time and energy just focusing on that one versus trying to solve 100, because your leverage is so much greater, and it's much easier to solve one problem versus 100. Of course, to scale, maybe like you have a huge problem that takes a lot of different resources that you could say would be harder, but I would think, in the general sense of things, if you have one problem versus 100, you would rather focus on one because your attention can be fully into that one problem. And so a lot of times we try to focus on all the little ones and try to spend our time solving those problems, and then we end up nowhere and really only tweak something a little bit, and maybe some other problem arises. Say we have 100 problems, we solve one, we're down to 99, and then another one comes up because it just keeps coming up because we're not solving the one that's causing everything to pile up and create more. And this is what you also might hear as fires in the business. And sometimes if you just don't take care of the actual fire, the main part of the source of why things are catching on fire, every little fire is going to start throughout the building, right? And this can also be very simplified, and something I want to more talk about is how even if you're not in the business world, even if you're, thinking of your personal life or personal challenges, or you want to get to a next step, you will always have problems. And if you don't, and in my experience, if you are left with nothing to do, meaning you don't have a job, you don't have someone to take care of, you don't have really your next goal to accomplish, you're really lost, right? You become very maybe unimportant to the world as society, and because you're not really providing in a sense. You're not trying to reach that next target because you don't know what to do. And a lot of times when we have this free time, especially on our days off, or if we have long periods of time where we have long vacations, we start to notice other problems in the world, or we start to create other problems in the world. And creating the problems in the world becomes very detrimental to a society as a whole, because creating problems doesn't help anybody. If you are actively going out there to create a problem when everybody else is trying to solve them, and you're trying to also solve them, you're not helping anybody move forward. This keeps the world very stale. It keeps it in a stuck position, like you're stuck in the mud and you can't move. And it also doesn't make you a provider. It doesn't make you somebody that is going to be giving to this world. You're always going to be bringing negativity instead of actually focusing on something greater than it. And this can be in a wide different ways. Like, there's always problems that we can just create, we can make up, that we think there's something wrong, so we have to fix it. We think there's something that we just have to focus on. We think there's something we have to bring into our life to make it so we have something to do. We think we have to just stir up somebody, especially if you know somebody has anger issues. You might just be like just trying to stir them up. You might be trying to get a reaction out of people. You might be trying to just for the fun of it, go around and steal things. You might think it's fun to just go around and terrorize everybody, right? So there's always these problems, and which is why I think if you think of a thief, to him, he's still doing a duty and a work. He's solving a problem, but he's also creating more. Like, to him, he gets fulfillment out of being able to solve the problem of how you could steal something without being caught. But it also takes away from other people. It also causes other people to have a problem. And instead, maybe he should have figured out, hey, how can I help people? And how can I help people in a way it doesn't take away from the other person, where it provides value on both sides. Maybe one side is overinflated, but it still provides to both sides to help each other move forward. And I think this is important because even, personally, I've had that where I always just want to solve a problem. I feel like if there's nothing to do, I need something to solve. I need something to do. And there might be something I add into my life because there's nothing moving and there's nothing that I can work on. And when I add that thing into my life, it becomes a problem. So now I just delay myself thinking that I am moving forward, I'm getting something done, because I brought in a problem that didn't need to be there on purpose, just so I could feel good about myself, just so I could feel good that I was able to accomplish something. But in reality, I'm just walking on a treadmill and I'm not going anywhere because I just brought more problems to me. I'm bringing it to me. I'm flowing with me, and I may be moving my feet, but I'm not actually moving forward. The ground beneath me might be, moving. It's bringing more problems to me that I have to step over and keep on going. And I think this can be very negative to society as a whole, especially when we talk about, maybe even just like a big like drama, or you start, spreading something, or you, like I said, you start stirring the pot. You started adding negativity where it didn't need to be. You just started being a naysayer. You started just going after everybody for no reason, just because you needed something to do, right? It doesn't help anybody move forward in their lives. And bring it back to the business sense, I guess even personally, because this can apply everywhere. Whenever I look at a problem, sometimes I personally procrastinate because I know that, hey, if I solve this problem, I'm going to have another problem on the other end. So why not just, I like this problem, I like having the problem. We might enjoy certain problems, right? We might enjoy having certain things that we can say, hey, well, I got this problem, but we never actually want to solve it. Because I've noticed even in myself, there's some that I just fear what the other end of it is going to be. What is the other end of me solving this problem? Am I out of problems? What is the next problem? Like, what's the probability it's a problem I'm going to enjoy? And it's also very uncertain how I know to get to the next one. And can also be where people get caught up in thinking way too far ahead. We think we can solve what we're going to have to figure out in 10 years, when in fact we should probably only focus on, this year, this month, this quarter, when we should figure out how we can make these tweaks and these problems now, when we don't even know what the problem is going to come to us in 10 years. But we're going to get to it when we get there. We have to solve this one today. So we should be putting our efforts into solving this one today. And sometimes that uncertainty, we crave the certainty. We want to know exactly what's going to happen, because we think if we know it, we're going to be ahead. We think if we try to solve everything in the future, we're going to be ahead. And while this is true in some cases, you should plan ahead, plan for the future, and understand where you're going. And this can also be overused. You can overindulge on trying to solve a very detailed problem that if you solved the current one today, if you solved that big one today, maybe in 5 years, that one is totally irrelevant. It doesn't even matter. It's something you thought you were going to have to do, but it isn't something you have to do at all anymore. Maybe even an outside factor out of your control already solved the problem, and you didn't have to do anything for it. And when we look at these, we think, okay, so the best way to have problems is problems that we can focus on and provide attention to. We can provide our resources to now. Not only can we provide the resources to now, we can understand that if we solve this one big problem, it will take care of a lot of other problems we have in life. Let's say you're out of money. You don't have money. Well, your problem is you just need money, right? And without having money, you can't eat. Without having money, you can't have a car. You can't drive anywhere. You can't get to anywhere. You can't have a house. You can't have a roof over your head. You can't have the simple necessities of life without having some resource of money. And so when you're out of it, that is your problem. And you could say, I want to solve the problem of I'm going to go try to find food. I'm going to go try to find how I can get this car. When if you just had all of the money in the world, just think about that for a second. If you had all the money in the world, would you try to figure out how you can save more on the next diet or diet plan you have, or how can you live the cheapest? How can you find the best car that's most efficient, most affordable? How can you find these things that you might be able to fit into your budget? But if you just also, if you had no money, you don't have any of these things, and you can't just go and be like, oh, I'm going to go find a new car I can buy. I'm going to go shop for a new car when I didn't even shop for myself to get money. And if you just had money, you might not be as caring about what you can buy, because if you bought one car one day and you had an abundance of money where you decided the next day that car actually sucked, it was a bad decision, it was a bad car for you, you could go and sell that car, buy another one without taking a hit. Well, looks like the problem wasn't finding the right car and making sure you can have every spot checked off. The problem was you just didn't have money enough to freely allow yourself to get in a car and use it and then decide later on that it wasn't what you needed. And I think money is a really easy one, because a lot of people, seek more money, or they are broke. We need money to live. We need the resource to get us to another spot. It's not everything, and it doesn't provide fulfillment, but it solves certain problems. And if we're trying to solve certain problems, we should focus on the one big one, instead of thinking, well, if I go this way and that way and solve this little thing, maybe I can try to do this and this and that. When you just focused on one, you would have all of it. All of that would be irrelevant. Every other 100 problems would be irrelevant. It would be collapsed into a ball, and you could literally just throw it away, because it's just trash to you now. They aren't problems. They're solved. Boom, done. And then the way you should look at it going forward, is why I really wanted to make this video, is think about what you're doing today. Is that problem you're trying to solve even worth your time? Is that problem you're trying to solve, could it be bundled up into others and solved with one? Even though it might take a little bit longer, it might take a little bit more work to solve that big one, would it be all solved together? And where are you spending your time and energy? Are you trying to create more problems? Are you trying to solve the ones that you've already had, that you're procrastinating about because maybe you're afraid of what might come next? Maybe you're even just being lazy about it. You don't feel like you want to put the work to it to solve it. And sometimes being lazy can make us live way harder, because sometimes if you just solve that problem, you could live a little bit easier. You could have a little bit more leverage on your life. You have a little bit more control of your life. You have a little bit more freedom of your life. And so if we just focus on that one thing and chose that problem being the hard one we're going to solve, instead of the hard one of being broke, we're going to choose how we can make money, then, well, we aren't broke anymore when we have money. We aren't living through the pains of being broke anymore. So we have to choose our problems and make sure our problems aren't problems in itself, meaning that the problem we're trying to solve doesn't get us anywhere. The problem we're trying to solve is just a smokescreen for what we need to do. And it's just making us busy. It's not making us effective. It's making us just twiddle our thumbs thinking we're going somewhere. We think we're, walking on a treadmill. We think we're actually moving miles, which maybe your legs are in one spot, but you're not actually traveling the earth. So look at your problems, figure out which ones you need to cut out. Think about the ones that you actually need to solve. Think about the ones that are bigger. And this could be huge for your life and what you decide to do, because at any stage you're probably going to do this, and it's always going to come to you. And don't try to create other problems for more people that don't need it in their lives. And frankly, I think we should be told directly a lot of the times what our problem is, so that we can be left alone to solve it. You don't need to help everybody solve each problem. Sometimes you have to be alone to solve a problem. Sometimes you have to do it on your own. Sometimes, right, you have to solve it internally, and it takes you. And there's also something very gratifying about being able to solve it for yourself and understanding that you put the work in. Now, there's also others that you should also ask for assistance, ask for help, guidance, but don't ask for everybody to give you the answers of everything, because you have to find the answer yourself most of the time. All right, I appreciate you guys tuning in. If this really helped you guys, if you had any thoughts, give me comment down below. I know sometimes these things can be very controversial, very different, and they can also maybe bring a little bit of light to your end of the tunnel. And hopefully, if that did so, I will be making more videos like this. So subscribe along for the journey, and I'll see you guys in the next one.